Hello. Good. I don't know if I can hear you. Hold on.
I am muted.
Oh,
So
I hear you now.
no, I'm so sorry. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I'm just gonna start things off, but we're having not issues, but our main computer doesn't play audio. So I'm going to play play you from my laptop and face you towards the classroom. And that's where we're gonna get our audio from. But you will be up on the big screen over here for
Oh
people.
boy. Okay.
But thank you so much for meeting with us. Everyone's super excited. We might have some more people joining through Zoom throughout the meeting.
Okay.
We do have some people here in person. So I'm just going to flip you around to some of our club members. Everyone's a little scattered, but hopefully you can. Sorry, it's like just on you, Leah, but I'll go. I don't know which way would be best. Do you guys all want to kind of move
Then
like,
we can huddle people probably.
yeah, just so it's not just like focused on you. I guess I can mix it over here too, so it's not as like. Okay, if we're over here, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So to start off, would you just be able to give us a little introduction and about yourself and then share your journey from college to your current role?
Yeah, so I am Lauren, obviously. I graduated from Bloomsburg in May of 2021. I was a media journalism major with a PR focus, actually. And then I also minored in communication studies, if that hits home for anybody. Um, but yeah, that was just kind of how I came into college. I was probably unique in that I was media and journalism from the start. I actually went in with that junior or freshman year. And then after being in that track, I actually started with journalism. So even just more background, like I knew that I liked to write a lot. I didn't really know what that I wanted to do with that. I knew I didn't want to teach, but I didn't know what kind of jobs were out there with just like writing, communication. So that's how I found media and journalism. And after taking a couple classes, I think like the baseline class that you have to take with either Dr. Ganal or Dr. Byram, I was like, wow, PR sounds really cool. So I started doing that track. I would say I dabbled in probably all of the classes in the major except for telecom. I really didn't do a lot with video. Not to say that you shouldn't, but I just happened to dabble a lot in like media and PR. And yeah, I kind of started my role at WebFX as an internet marketing specialist. Straight out of college, I had interviewed for that role starting in like February of my senior year and had that position secured for post grad. So I think I literally got like a week off. I got a week post grad and then I started my job. And so yeah, now I've been there for about 2.5 years, a little less. And I've definitely enjoyed it. There's been just so much that I've learned there. Excited to talk to you guys about it tonight.
Thank you so much. I think that definitely like hits home for a lot of people. We have a lot of PR majors and then some communication majors in here as well. So that insight was really helpful. And then like for the next question, could you just share with us like a little bit about your current role and then your favorite parts of the role you're in right now?
So, I think I mentioned the name, but so the easiest way I like to describe my role, there's like two parts to my name. So the first is being an internet marketing focus. Really what that means is I do everything having to do hands-on, I should say, having to do with website optimization. And if you think of the annoying like Google ads that you see when you search things, like that's me, that's what I do. So a lot of that I'd say I took the most like hard skills probably from the emergent media classes. I don't do it a ton, but I do have to dabble in like some HTML and CSS coding from time to time when I'm working on different client websites. A lot of what I learned with just working with like WordPress and different content interfaces. I know BU Now is hosted in like a WordPress site. So a lot of that carries over into my role. So really what I'm doing for clients is the short explanation is basically getting them to show up in the Google search results. Whether they're a local business where they're offering a service or maybe they're like a brick and mortar store and you're just trying to search for like pizza near me. My job is to make sure that they show up like number one for pizza near me. So that, running ads, everything having to do with like the website. The second half of my title is account manager. So what that means is we have some people on staff who do a lot of that internet marketing work, more so behind the scenes. And my job as an account manager is to be client facing and to really walk through all the deliverables with our clients. So that is where I think a lot of my really strong like PR background comes in, that more traditional side of things. So essentially at WebFX, we work with clients from like all different industries. I can tell you I worked with everything from like manufacturing to Campgrounds of America to my one client is an interior design firm, but like they only do interior design for medical facilities. Like there's just a lot of cool stuff that I've learned about different industries. And my job is basically to be the face of the company for my clients. So clients are getting a bunch of different deliverables, a bunch of different plans. You know, some might do social media with us. That's not necessarily my forte, but maybe they're getting different deliverables. And my job is to basically just be like the face that walks them through that and explains all of that. Give them recommendations, get to know their business, get to know what their goals are and what audiences they want to reach. So kind of like the gatekeeper, I guess that's like the second half of my title, being the account manager. So it's a lot of fun. I get to talk to a lot of people on the job while also getting to do some of the hands-on creative and technical work. It's a good balance of those two things. I think some of my favorite things about the job is definitely the amount of industries that I've been exposed to. It's really fun. Some of them aren't the most exciting. You would think like manufacturing, but we always like joke around sometimes and we say like we're really good at trivia because we learn all these like random things about different industries. Definitely working with people is another big plus of my job. I'm definitely a little bit more of an extrovert. I love being social. I know a lot of people might not feel this way, but I love like public speaking and presenting different ideas, and that's a big part of my role. And also a little bit more on the traditional like media and journalism side. I really enjoy working with clients who get content done for their website. So a lot of the times it might not be like traditional press releases and things that we learn a lot about in our classes, but more so like blog writing, basically to just establish them as thought leaders in their industry. And one of my favorite parts of the role is basically being in charge of understanding what's trending in different industries and mapping out different content that they might want to put on their website. Our social media team does that for social as well. So definitely people, content, and just the array of industries that I get to touch on are some of my favorite things.
Yeah, that was great. I think that would really help people who might be considering this field. And that sounds really fun. So I can see why those are your favorite things. And then I guess coming off of that, would you be able to share a little bit about your least favorite things in your current role, if you have any, or what those would be?
Yeah, so just like I have my favorite things, I definitely have my least favorite things. I would say probably my least favorite like physical part of the job is anything technical. It's not something that I just really had any background in. And by technical, I just mean how sometimes there will be things wrong with the site, like a bunch of linking errors. If you ever see the big dreaded 404 page, like fixing that up, troubleshooting. Some of what I'm responsible for doing is tracking different events on a site. So like say a client wants to understand how people are using their different contact forms, if they have like PDFs that are available for download, how do we track if people are interacting with those or not? So definitely setting up event tracking and some of that technical troubleshooting is not my favorite thing to do. Luckily, I have some good support behind me to help out, but definitely something I have to do every once in a while. That wouldn't be the most fun thing, I would say. And then the only other thing really I would say, and this isn't even anything with the like role or job description necessarily. It's just, I think, good to know it's just the nature of working in an agency setting as opposed to in-house. Sometimes all your clients will need things all at the same time, and it just happens to be really, really busy. It comes and goes in waves. But because you're working with so many different people, so many different businesses and industries, by coincidence, they all could need something at the same time, and it can get a little stressful trying to delegate all of that out and trying to project manage and keep track of that. Um, I mean, there's goods and bads to that for sure, but I would say that's probably the most stressful element. Don't know if it's my least favorite, probably technical is, but it's just something I definitely had to adjust to. And it can be really exciting, but it definitely can be a lot sometimes. And I know I went through a learning curve with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I definitely, I would probably feel the same way, at least about all of the deadlines I know in classes and everything.
Yeah.
Not for people can be very stressful, so that makes sense. And then I guess since a lot of our members are nearing graduation, do you have any advice on applying to jobs related to our fields, or also how to like find jobs that were interested in? How did you kind of go about finding your role and knowing it was a good fit for you?
So I guess like two couple parts to that question. Finding out, I'll answer the latter half because I think it's easier to answer. Finding out that it was the right fit for me. I was very fortunate in that going through interviews with a couple different places. I just happened to get a feeling like for WebFX that I thought it was going to be a good fit just throughout the people that I was interacting with. So their HR department and talent acquisition people that I would talk to throughout the process actually like geared me towards the role I have now. I actually had applied for their earned media department, which is a little bit more, it's not client facing, it's behind the scenes. Their job is to basically make sure that our clients have a good reputation online, kind of. It's a little bit like traditional PR, but it's more so from like a website perspective. Um, I had applied to do that because all I really knew was I was like, oh, I know earned media, like I know how to write and do all that stuff. And just in going through the interview process, um, they were just asking me questions about, extrovert versus introvert and what types of deliverables and projects I like to do, what energizes me versus what drains me. And they were actually able to say to me, you know what, I know you applied for this position, but I really think that you would do better in a client facing position. And they were able to kind of gear me to that. So obviously, I'm only one person and I only went through one experience with WebFX. But if you are applying to different places, I would say even a good gauge of whether it's going to be a good company is just like, are they asking questions about what you like, what energizes you, what motivates you? A lot of the times, not just mine, I think other employers too will be pretty good at figuring out like whether you'll be a mutual good fit. And you'll be able to pick up on that vibe if you just feel comfortable talking to them about that stuff. Um, I guess just like how I went about finding a job. I definitely came back after like the winter break to the spring of senior year and I was like, all right, let's go. Like I was so determined to have a job like after graduation. I would say keep like a spreadsheet if you are planning on applying to multiple at once. You definitely don't have to, but if you're planning on applying to multiple, I kind of kept just like a super, super simple spreadsheet just so that I knew like, okay, did that person get back to me? What did I say to them? Like, was my cover letter a different did it say something a little bit different based on what the job description was? Um, and I would say when you're going for jobs, a lot of them, I don't know, I'm sure you guys have seen like memes about this or jokes about this. A lot of like just entry level positions will say they're entry level and say that they want like 2 years experience. It's very real. It's a very real phenomenon, but I would honestly say like do not let that discourage you. I think jobs know you have to start somewhere. Like jobs know that there are graduates. Um, Also, if you are doing any sort of like on-campus jobs or internships, like that counts. That is experience. That is hands-on work. So I would say like when you're looking for jobs and you're looking for like communications or PR or journalism or whatever it may be that you're looking for, Do not write something off just because it says like 1 to 2 years or whatever experience. I would definitely say just go for anything that even says it's entry level. Um, and I would say the way I just kind of looked for things, obviously my role today is a lot different than something I thought I was going to be traditionally applying for. Um, I would just say maybe if you have like another passion that you have. I know I interned before I graduated, I interned at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary. And that was just because I was interested in doing nonprofit work. So I just kind of matched different keywords like communication and nonprofit and just put it into like Indeed or Glassdoor and just see what it would bring up. I think you're going to be a lot more like motivated to get the job too if you think it's going to be something that you have some sort of interest in. Um, but honestly, I would also say use LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn in addition to just your traditional like job searching sites like Indeed and Glassdoor. Those are great, but a lot of the times you might find something on LinkedIn that's not listed on Indeed or vice versa. Um, so yeah, there's just a bunch of different ways you can go about jobs. I know if you guys are on LinkedIn, I don't know if you have to be an actual alum to join it or not, but there's like a Bloomsburg alum group and they will post different jobs in there. So yeah, just don't feel discouraged. Like there are so many jobs, so many places. And I honestly, when I was starting the process, probably just took like a week or two to literally just noodle with it, like just take it all in, like see what's out there and then start thinking about it because it can be a lot at one time.
Thank you. That was really good advice. It was definitely it hit a lot of different topics, and I think we all can take a lot away from that as well. Um, and you kind of already did answer this a little bit, but my next question is, how do you feel your background in public relations influences you in your career? I know you kind of did answer that, but if there's anything you wanted to add.
I mean, I would say definitely probably the biggest thing is what I hit on, just that concept of like not being like a middleman, but kind of being a liaison between like the company and the client, really being the face of things, using those public speaking skills, using a lot of those like soft skills, I guess, from PR. And even though I don't do traditional hands-on work like press releases or things like that anymore, I would definitely say just overall knowing how to talk about and knowing what to look for with different projects I did through like PRSSA and classes, where you're basically looking at a business and trying to identify who are their key publics, and how do we best reach them. That is by far definitely the biggest tie to my degree. Even though I work more on websites, that is definitely like the biggest factor that played into the role that I now have. And it gives me a lot to talk about in the interview. Even though it's traditionally a different role, a lot of that concept relates. It's just how do you reach those audiences and why, and how do you speak to them in different ways, different channels. Trying to think if there's anything else. Probably just the concept of project managing. I know in a lot of our PR classes, you might be working with clients, or I don't know, like as a club, if you guys have done different one-off projects for like clients, or if you did the Bateman competition, just the idea of balancing that with coursework, whether you're in-house or in an agency setting. I think the really cool thing about PR communications and marketing jobs is you're probably going to be able to get your hands into a lot of different stuff. So just that idea of project managing and balancing everything too.
Yeah, that was great. I only have one more question for you, but then I'll leave it open to everyone else to see if they have any questions. But my last one is, after being in your current position, have your career aspirations changed at all?
Yes, and I actually really like this question because I think it's really cool to see how things have changed for different people. Obviously, it changed a lot from when I was in school to when I got the position I did, because when I was in school and when I was looking for jobs, I thought that I really, really wanted to do writing. I thought that I wanted to do design or maybe some social, and that's not at all what I do today. And now that I've been in my role for a little bit, um, I'm definitely looking to expand more so the digital aspect. We have different programs at work, or once you're there for a few years, you start to learn like what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and definitely just leaning more into web optimization and advertising. I never thought I'd be running like ads and like working with people's budgets and doing that, like paid media. So I definitely aspire to keep moving in like the paid media side of things, which is not something I saw for myself before. um, I also think that maybe eventually I would switch to an in-house position, just because like the agency life is really exciting. I love the things that I'm learning. But it can be a bit stressful and busying. So I think my career aspirations have changed just a little bit in like the short term and the long term. Um, Knowing that I love that I'm getting to try the things that I'm doing with the clients I am, but um, you kind of feel out the strengths and the weaknesses. So maybe applying that to one brand and moving more towards a branding position than just like a more project managing type of position. Um, so I know those are all kind of abstract things, but I'm obviously very like young into my career. I've only been out of school for 2.5 years. But even in those 2.5 years, I've definitely gotten a taste of different things, and um, never thought I'd be doing some of the things that I am doing, and never thought I'd be interested in like moving in house or moving towards paid media. So it's been really cool to get exposed to those things, and they weren't even things that I think I even realized were options when I was in school.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that can get us all excited, especially those of us who aren't completely sure what we want to do after graduation. It's nice to see that you're still learning about what you want to do and finding out more about yourself after post graduation. But that being said, thank you for answering those. Does anyone else have like any questions that they want to personally ask for while she's here with us? Anything? Anything like WebFX related too, I'm sure she could answer as well.
Yes, I kind of have one.
Yeah.
I don't know how I want to word this. Have you come across any positions or anything like that that you felt as though a master's degree would be more beneficial, or do you feel like with your bachelor's, like do you feel like there's a need to get like a higher education if anyone's considering that, or do you think a bachelor's degree is like fun? I don't know how
It's so hard. I can't speak for everyone. In my personal experience, I've not really come across a situation where I think that would be necessary or even necessarily get me like a leg up. I think it definitely depends like what kind of job you're going for. Um, but I feel like especially as things get a little bit more media and digital, it's a little bit newer. So a lot of the maybe like master's programs out there, like a traditional one that some people that I work with have, they got like their MBA, just like a general master's business administration. And they don't regret having it. They like that they have it. It's awesome. Like it's a degree. No one can take that away from you. But I personally have not run into a situation where I've felt that I needed that, or like somebody else maybe had an advantage where I did not have one. Sorry, I feel like this is not a very straightforward answer, but I personally have not run into a situation that.
Okay, does anyone else have anything else they'd like to add?
How's the WebFX headquarters? If that's where you're working.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed the beginning. Were you just saying how is it? Oh, it's a lot of fun. So I'm sure you guys, if you're familiar with WebFX at all, if you've seen any of like the videos that intro the place, physically it's just a very cool office. So I live in Camp Hill now, which is kind of like a town over from Harrisburg. So our headquarters are right on the Susquehanna River, so it's a really pretty view. The office itself is a bit extravagant. The team, our operations team, does a really great job at just like bringing in different things with the budget that they have. So, like, this is a little tidbit that's not one of the more traditional exciting things, but like, each of our conference rooms are named after different Google algorithm updates, which I think is pretty funny. So everyone's like, let's meet up in Penguin, or like, let's meet up in Fred. So that's a fun thing about it. It's growing quite a bit. So the Harrisburg headquarters has like 4 little buildings that are all part of like the campus, we call it. So it's really cool to get to go into different areas. They kind of break people out into relevant departments. So I'd say that's another thing I really like about it is I'm personally sitting on a floor with all other people who do the same exact thing that I do. So we're constantly being able to hear each other on calls and just like learn from one another. They'll put like a lot of designers sitting in the same area, um, our developers sitting in one area. So it's definitely really cool. There's always something going on. They like to get food trucks to come in for different days, which is really nice. Don't have to pack a lunch. I can just bring my card and go to work. So there's always, yeah, definitely fun things going on at that campus.
Okay, great. And I think I actually have one more question too, if you don't mind. Just relating to interviewing, I know WebFX does have, I think, a 3-step process, and a lot of other companies do. Do you have any advice, or or I guess just any knowledge that you'd like to share about the interviewing process to the people here?
Yeah, so I guess I can share like from my experience with WebFX and even some friends I've had that have gone on to have other positions. They also have had similar situations where they've gone through like a multi-step process. I definitely would say do not let it scare you. Like it really is designed. I think you can't know a person really from one interaction, like one sit down. So just like remind yourself of that when you're going into interviews, whether it's for WebFX or anywhere else that has multi-step. It's not meant to be intimidating, or it's not meant to be like unnecessary. Like it really is just a way to get to know someone over a period of time. And a lot of the times I think it's good if a job has multiple interviews, because you get to really get a feel for them as much as they're getting a feel for you. I guess just like advice I would say is definitely sending just like a thank you after every step of the process. It doesn't need to be like a full on handwritten letter sent to them. I mean, that would be really cool, but especially if, you have another step a week later, you don't even know if the letter will get to them in time, but just following up, showing that you're interested, sending like an email follow-up and thanking them is always a plus. Also, I know for me, so my first interview with WebFX was just over the phone. It wasn't over like Google Meets or anything. So I hated that. I get so nervous. I like to see facial expressions. I want to see if I can read how they're feeling about me. Really not a fan of the phone. So this is like a really small thing, but I actually got this tip from someone else and I've done it ever since, even if I'm talking to like a client. It's just like stand up when you're on the phone. It makes you just like project more and sound more confident, and you'll probably just feel a little bit taller. Yeah, it's a really silly thing, but like I was taught it and it definitely made me feel confident. It made me like force myself to feel professional enough to be like sitting on my couch, like doing this phone interview. So I definitely like that. And also for those interviews where you are like, this works only, I guess, if you're on a Zoom or a Google Meet. If you want to have notes in front of you, I would not say that's a bad thing. But just like any presentation in class, I would just make sure it's very, very quick, like bullets, just to remind yourself maybe of like their company code that you want to like squeeze in there. Don't feel like it has to be scripted. So I guess those are like very hands-on tips. Let me know if I can like elaborate on that.
I think that answered it pretty well. Does anyone like have anything they'd like to ask before we wrap it up?
I do have one more question.
Yeah.
What was something that you did during your time at Bloomsburg that like helped you to prepare for your job?
I know this is like a very cheesy answer, but it's so true. It's just like being involved in a lot of things outside of classes. That I think really gave me a leg up in the interview process, just because I had more to like talk about. Something that I was asked in a couple different interviews is just like a project that you're most proud of. And it's really cool when you can pull from that and say it was something that you literally chose to do and not just something that you had to do for a class. I think it shows them that you have like a level of like passion and interest in what you do. You also take effort, like you take initiative to do things. So yeah, that's a very basic answer, but honestly, it's the biggest thing I think that helped me throughout all my interviews is just having a lot to talk about and showing that initiative outside of the classroom.
Is there anything else before? Okay. I guess just before we head out, is there like one piece of advice you want to leave with us before leaving?
Yeah, a couple of tidbits, I guess. One is just like, I guess more of a statement. Just know that like any of you guys doing media and journalism, regardless of like what track that you're on, just know that you could apply for so many different things. Even if you did take the majority of your classes in like telecom, but maybe you see like a writing position pop up, like I truly think the department prepares you very well to have a multitude of skills that you can go for different things, even if it's not necessarily your concentration. I guess this goes back to a little bit about what I said, but also don't let the like experience scare you. I would definitely say just go for things. Internship is experience, work jobs are experience. And oh, here's something I never really knew how to answer, and I don't remember if this was the like senior seminar or whatever I took in media and journalism. I never understood how to answer the question, like, what's your greatest weakness in an interview? And this is advice that I got. Again, I really can't remember if it was the seminar from media and journalism or if it was one of the classes I took with communication studies. But I always just like to share how I like answered the question after I got that advice. Is pick something that truly is like a weakness, like it's a tangible skill, but it's something that's probably not going to relate to the job too much. So like for example, the way that I answered that, I think for WebFX was talking about how some of my like technical editing video skills, it definitely wasn't something that was my forte, like anything in telecom. So was just trying to like take a class here or two to help with that. That's like a solid answer. I don't know if that was helpful. I don't know if anyone else has like had that question. I was never really taught how to answer that question until I had a class. So that is my one random piece of advice for you all that I'll leave you with.
No, I definitely appreciate that. I feel like that question stumps me. I don't know about like everyone else, but I never knew.
Yeah.
So that is a great piece of advice. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it from us. I'll kind of walk up here. But thank you so much for being willing to talk to us and share your knowledge. I think we all can walk away from it, and I know a lot of us were super excited to talk to you. So thank you for taking time to do that. And I mean, if we ever need anything, I'm sure we'll reach out. And yeah, just thank you so much. Your presentation was great.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I love PRSSA. It seriously gave me so much to talk about in my interviews. I love Dr. Byram. You guys have to tell her I say hi. And yeah, if you guys do like have any questions about like just job hunting in general or anything, like definitely feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or yeah, anything. Thank you for having me, Maya.
Yeah, no, thank you for speaking to us. I really appreciate it. But have a great rest of your night. And yeah, have a good one. I guess, yeah, we can move by.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.